Life in Owerri had become a dull routine for Chioma. Every morning, she tied her wrapper tightly, tucked her blouse neatly, and walked to the small shop where she worked as a salesgirl. The wooden shelves of the shop were stacked with provisions: tins of milk, bags of rice, packets of biscuits. She sold, counted change, and answered customers' endless questions. It was survival, nothing more. 10,000 naira a month could not buy her dreams back, but it was better than nothing. Her hands had grown rougher, her voice quieter, her laughter rarer. At 17, she should have been in a classroom, scribbling equations and preparing for WAEC. Instead, she was behind a counter, watching life pass by in hurried footsteps of customers. Then one day, fate walked into that shop in the form of a young man. He was tall, dark-skinned, with a confident walk that made people notice him before he spoke. His clothes were simple, yet they carried a kind of elegance that made them stand out. He leaned on the counter and greeted her warmly, his smile wide and disarming. "Good afternoon, fine girl," he said, his voice smooth, almost musical. Chioma blinked. She wasn't used to such attention. Most customers just barked out their orders and left. "Good afternoon, sir. What do you want to buy?" He chuckled. "So straight to business? I like that. Give me a loaf of bread and a bottle of mineral." She packed the items quickly, avoiding his eyes, but he didn't move to leave. Instead, he studied her closely. "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Chioma. A beautiful name for a beautiful girl," he said. "My name is Jude." That was how it began. Jude didn't just buy bread and leave. He returned the next day, and the day after, always finding an excuse to stop by the shop. Sometimes he bought small things: groundnut, pure water, biscuits. Other times he came empty-handed, pretending he was just passing by. But always, his eyes lingered on Chioma, and always, his smile seemed to carry secrets. At first, Chioma ignored him. She was cautious. After all, life had taught her that not every hand stretched toward you was a helping one. But Jude was persistent. He noticed small things about her: how her hands trembled slightly when she counted change, how she never seemed to own a phone, how her clothes, though clean, were modest and worn. One afternoon, he leaned closer to her and asked, "Chioma, why don't you have a phone? Don't you talk to your friends?" She gave a small laugh, one that held no humor. "Phone is luxury. Food is survival." Jude's face softened. Without another word, he left the shop. An hour later, he returned, holding a small box. Inside was a brand new phone and a SIM card. Chioma's eyes widened. "For me?" "Yes," he said firmly. "For you. You are too young to be cut off from the world. Keep it. I'll even load airtime for you." Her hands trembled as she held the phone. No one had ever given her such a gift before. She whispered, "Thank you." From that day, Jude became more than a customer. He became a presence in her life. He called her in the evenings, asked about her day, sent her small amounts of money to support her. He told her stories about life abroad, about Italy where he claimed to live. He painted pictures of wide streets, tall buildings, and opportunities waiting to be seized. At first, Chioma thought he was exaggerating, but the way he spoke, with such confidence, made her wonder, could it be true? Could there really be a place where life was easier? Where dreams could breathe again? Jude filled the hole her father's death had left behind. He was attentive, protective, and generous. When men in the market whistled at her or threw careless insults, Jude stepped in like a shield, his voice sharp, his stance firm. "Respect her," he warned one man who tried to touch her hand. "She's not your plaything." Slowly, Chioma's walls began to crumble. She found herself looking forward to his visits, her heart beating faster when his name flashed on her new phone. In Jude, she saw something she had been starving for: security, attention, a chance at hope. One evening, as they walked together down a quiet Owerri street, Jude stopped and looked at her seriously. Chioma, you're wasting away here. This is not the life meant for you. You're too intelligent, too beautiful, too ambitious to be stuck selling biscuits in a small shop. She sighed. What choice do I have? My father is gone. My mother is struggling. School is gone. He touched her arm gently. What if I told you there's another way? A new beginning. I could take you with me to Italy. There, life is better. Work pays. Education is possible. We could even get married. You won't have to suffer like this anymore. Her heart pounded. Italy? It sounded like a dream. Too far. Too impossible. But looking at Jude's eyes, she saw conviction. He wasn't joking. He truly believed he could give her a new life. For days, she wrestled with the thought. Leaving her family? Abandoning everything familiar? Yet the memory of her father's lifeless body, the debts, the humiliation, the shop, with its endless small sales, all of it whispered, "You have nothing left here." The only person she confided in was her mother. Late one night, Chioma sat by her side, clutching her hands tightly. "Mama, Jude says he wants to take me to Italy. He says he can marry me and give me a better life." Her mother stared at her for a long time, her face unreadable. Finally, she sighed. "Chioma, the world is not kind to young women. I fear for you, but I also see how this life has crushed you. If you believe this is your chance, then go. Maybe God has hidden your blessing in a faraway land." Tears filled Chioma's eyes. "Mama, I'm scared." Her mother kissed her forehead. "Even lions are afraid sometimes, but they still roar." And with that, Chioma's decision was sealed. What she did not know was that the path Jude had prepared for her was not paved with blessings, but with shadows, darker than any night she had ever known. The road of no return. When Jude left for Italy ahead of her, Chioma felt as though she had been left standing at a crossroads. For weeks, they stayed in touch through late-night phone calls, his voice filling her with promises. He spoke of opportunities, of a future brighter than the one she had lost. "Just hold on," he said. "I'll send you money for your journey. You will meet me soon. Trust me, Chioma, your suffering will end." And when the money finally arrived, more than she had ever held at once, she knew her life was about to change. It wasn't a secret she could share with everyone. She told no one except her mother. Her siblings, scattered among relatives, had no idea. In the dim glow of a kerosene lamp, Chioma whispered her plans to her mother. She would leave quietly. No farewells. No tears. Only her mother would know. Mama Chioma, torn between fear and hope, gripped her daughter's hands. "My child, the world beyond these borders is not what it seems. Promise me you will pray. Promise me you will survive." "I will, Mama," Chioma replied, though her heart was pounding. "I will make you proud. I'll bring back blessings for all of us." The next morning, Chioma boarded a bus heading north, the money Jude sent tucked carefully into her clothes. Every mile that took her further from Owerri felt like a step away from her old life. She imagined Italy, its streets paved with cobblestones, its shops glittering with wealth, its schools waiting for her. She imagined Jude waiting at the other end, his arms open, ready to start their new life together. But dreams rarely survive the desert. At Sokoto, she met the first group of travelers, men and women, young and desperate, all whispering the same destination: Libya, then Italy. Some had the hardened look of those who had seen too much. Others carried the naive glow of hope, much like Chioma herself. It was here, at the border, that the truth began to reveal itself. There were no planes, no tickets, no easy passage. Instead, There were men, hard-eyed smugglers who demanded money to guide them through the desert. They spoke little, their voices rough, their promises thinner than paper. The journey began on foot. The desert was not the golden beauty Chioma had seen in pictures. It was a vast, endless sea of sand that burned in the day and froze at night. Every step sank into the ground. Every breath scraped against her throat. The sun was merciless, turning skin into fire, lips into cracked stone. Water was precious, measured in sips, guarded like gold. Days blurred into weeks. Along the way, Chioma witnessed things that no young girl should ever see. Women hungry, thirsty, and desperate were forced to pay for survival with their bodies. Smugglers demanded favors in exchange for water, for food, for the promise of reaching the next camp alive. Some resisted, and they were beaten. Others gave in, their tears swallowed by the sand. Chioma herself was not spared. At one camp, a smuggler cornered her, his breath reeking of alcohol, his eyes wild. She fought, clawed, begged, but her strength was no match. In that moment, something inside her broke. She realized this was no journey to freedom. It was a slow march into chains. Still, she clung to Jude's voice in her memory. "Hold on," she told herself. "When I see him, all of this will end." By the time they reached Libya, nearly 2 months had passed. Chioma's skin was burned, her clothes torn, her spirit battered. She had watched others die, some from thirst, some from exhaustion, some from the cruelty of the smugglers. Graves were shallow, sometimes nothing more than a mound of sand. She had stepped over bodies too weak to rise, their eyes begging for help she could not give. Libya was no salvation. It was chaos. The country, torn by conflict, had become a marketplace of human lives. Camps sprang up like shadows, filled with people waiting, hoping, trapped. Some were sold into labor, others into worse. Chioma found herself in one such camp, surrounded by women whose eyes were hollow, whose laughter had long died. It was here she discovered the full extent of Jude's deception. For weeks, she had tried to reach him, her calls going unanswered. She feared she had been abandoned, that he had tricked her into this nightmare. One evening, just as she was about to lose all hope, his voice finally came through on the phone. "I'm sorry," he said casually, as though nothing had happened. "I was busy. Don't worry, you'll be released soon. Just trust me." And true to his word, within days she was freed from the camp. A boat awaited her, a crowded, fragile vessel meant to carry them across the Mediterranean to Italy. The night she boarded, the sea was restless. Dozens of men, women, and children crammed into the boat, their faces a mixture of fear and hope. Chioma clutched her chest, whispering prayers as the waves rose higher, slapping the sides of the fragile craft. Hours into the journey, disaster struck. The boat rocked violently, water rushing in. Panic erupted. Screams, prayers, cries for help. The smugglers shouted, pushing people back, but the sea was merciless. The boat capsized. Chioma plunged into the freezing water, the salt burning her eyes, her lungs screaming for air. She kicked, fought, clung to anything she could find. By some miracle, an empty jerry can floated near her. She grabbed it, her arms locking around it, her heart pounding with the will to live. Around her, voices faded into silence, swallowed by the waves. When the shore finally came into view, dawn was breaking. Exhausted, trembling, she dragged herself onto the sand. And there, waiting as though he had orchestrated it all, was Jude. His face broke into a smile. But Chioma's heart no longer leapt with joy. She was too numb, too broken. Italy was supposed to be the end of her suffering. But as Jude led her away, his grip tight on her arm, she could not shake the feeling that her nightmare had only just begun.